Journalist Dan Wootton is apologizing to Johnny Depp? Yeah, nice try, Dan. This is not an apology.
Hey up everyone, it's me, Steph, the alternate, your nerdy alternative, looking after Popcorn Planet whilst Andy's on holiday at the moment. And yes, as you have just seen from the pre-intro, our erstwhile leader has joined us today, taking a break
Steph,
from his holiday, because, yeah, he has to on this one.
I couldn't sit out on this one, Steph. I saw this apology. We're about to watch it. Dan, this is to you, man, because I know you're watching. And you are going to friendlies. You refuse to come to places like me because we're going to challenge you further. And that's probably legally, you were going to open up a whole can of worms, because if you acknowledge that this was all bullshit, which you know it is, it opens you up to more legal responsibility. I get it. But this half-assed approach that you're trying, not going to work. I'm not going to allow it. You should either just say nothing then, or actually be genuine in your apology, because this, Steph, I just want to get to it, because I'm going to pause you throughout. If you want to watch it, you go over to Megyn Kelly. And I got to say, shame on Megyn Kelly for allowing this softball of an interview. I know they're friends, but my God, I usually have so much respect for Megyn. And in this instance, she totally let him go with he apologized. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. And I want you guys to decide for yourself. I'm sorry, I'm coming in hot already, Steph, but let's start the video. I may say pause so I can react and call Dan out for what he's trying to do here, because I see through it. Let's start the clip though, guys. Here
okay, let's start.
Johnny Depp. The audience may not be aware, but he sued you.
Oh, they're aware. Keep going.
Sued you for reporting you did on the Amber Heard allegations against him. And the audience may remember, before he brought his defamation case against her here domestically, he started in the UK, and Dan was on the receiving end of that. And there, Johnny Depp did not prevail. And then he came over here and he did prevail. And usually it goes the other way, because in the UK, it's easier to prove defamation than it is here in the United States, especially when there's a public figure involved. But you were in kind of an interesting spot there, because, you know, I don't know, maybe some people normally would have expected you to kind of take his side, but you were much more like, Amber Heard is brave, and, you know, I stand by my reporting that he was an alleged abuser. And now you say you want to issue an apology to him. Why?
Yeah, so it was interesting. The court case in the UK, even though Amber was giving evidence, it was actually me who was being sued. So she was giving evidence to support our case, because she knew if she won here, that would help her case in the US, although that didn't end up happening. Now, I want to be really clear.
Pause. I want to also be clear. They weren't allowed to question her. There was a lot that Johnny's camp wasn't allowed to do. This was so on-sided towards Amber and not Johnny, where Amber wasn't, as Dan's right, Amber wasn't being sued, but she was able to assist Dan behind the scenes in a lot of ways. She didn't provide her text messages. Somehow Johnny's all got in, but Amber refused, even though she was ordered, refused to give text messages throughout both cases. I would love to see those text messages. But let's be clear, this was not a fair trial in the UK for Johnny. Dan had Amber helping him behind the scenes. Dan was complicit in letting this lying woman cancel and destroy this man's career. Let's keep it honest, right, Steph? So I want to set all that up as we continue, but go ahead, keep playing.
That what I'm about to say is not designed in any way to pile more heartache or difficulties onto Amber Heard. Remember, she didn't want to be in court either, Megyn. It was Johnny who decided to take the case against me in the UK and her in the US.
Pause. It was Amber, because she wrote the op-ed. She kept talking about it. She agreed to a settlement with Johnny to not talk about it anymore. And she accepted money that she allegedly pledged, we'll get to that in a second, Steph, to charity. But she couldn't help herself, could she, Dan? She couldn't help herself. And it's so weird to me, given that what we're hearing from your closer friends is that you're admitting you were duped by her. But let's hear if he says that, Steph. Let's hear if he goes there. Keep going.
But what I do want to do is apologize to Johnny for ever getting involved in the ins and outs of his personal and clearly very toxic relationship. I have now seen, Megyn, and we've spoken about it during the first hour, just what can happen when an ex has such an axe to grind, is so actuated by malice, that they will make up terrible things designed to destroy your career and destroy your life. Now, by the way, I'm not saying that that's what Amber did, but we don't know, do we? And it was
Well, that's what the jury said. That's what the jury.
Thank you. All right. Well, yeah. Thank you for pausing. This is Steph. This is so irritating. I'd like to apologize for getting involved, for basically getting caught, getting in trouble, and spreading lies. But I'm not going to admit they were lies because I'm friends with Amber. But meanwhile, behind the scenes, I've been duped by Amber, but I can't admit that. So I'm just going to play this weird in the middle. I'm so sorry, Johnny. I have no doubt Johnny is not accepting this apology. This is not an apology Johnny is even going to humor. This is I'm trying to save my ass because folks like me and others are not going to let this drop, Dan. We are still not going to let this drop. Your career doesn't just get to keep going. You have to take accountability for your actions, and you know it. That's why you called your friend Megyn to say you want to issue an apology. But now the apology isn't really an apology, is it? I'm sorry I got involved. How is that an apology? I'm so sorry I stepped into something I shouldn't have done, but I'm not going to acknowledge I was wrong. Then you're not apologizing. You're not apologizing. And kudos to Megyn there. That's one pushback where she did. And I wish she would have pushed harder. She's letting Dan go off on a script that he's prepared. Look, he's looking down in what he's probably legally allowed to say. And I'm sorry, Dan, then don't say anything because this is bullshit. This is bullshit. Playing Steph. Go ahead.
Of course, but the judge in the UK made a different decision. So I think you could say it was a split decision. But
F you. A split decision, my ass. You mean the guy whose son works for the Sun versus a jury of peers? Oh, it's a split decision now. Notice how this apology has quickly turned into, well, Johnny still could be guilty. Well, Dan, guess what? I guess you could be too, right, Steph? You know what? Maybe Dan's ex is also telling the truth. Should we start looking more into your ex now? Because apparently Amber could be, even though all the evidence clearly shows otherwise. Maybe Dan's still guilty, Steph. Let's humor his ex now because Dan's going to humor Amber. Let's keep playing.
My role to get involved. If Amber believed there had been abuse in that relationship, there was a criminal process she could have gone through, and there was a legal process that she could have gone through. I think the problem is I got involved in the carnival of commentary. And actually, it was in a really unwitting way, Megyn, because my column wasn't even about Johnny Depp. It was actually about JK Rowling. You know, I absolutely love JK Rowling now. She's one of my heroes because she stands up for biological sex and she's taken on the woke mob. But at the time, do you remember she was leading the charge in the Me Too movement and saying that all women should be believed? All women should be believed, no matter what. That was JK Rowling.
Pause. Yeah, now Megyn's saying, and I'm going to say it too. And in fact, when I release this video, I'm going to put a tweet, Dear JK Rowling, and I want to clip this, Steph. I'd like JK Rowling to come on record and verify this because, Steph, correct me if I'm wrong, we've spent all evening and morning looking for JK Rowling believing all women once. The only thing we can remotely find is 2020, well after the verdict, where she's talking about, the trans issues. There is no evidence that J.K. Rowling was believing all women. No, Dan, she was fighting against cancel culture even then. You were the Me Too mob. You were the one coming after Johnny believing women. You're now trying to claim like it was her? Dude, you were the mob. You were believing Amber Heard a liar because you're friends with her. And then you were leaning in and leaning in and leaning in, and you wrote several pieces, including through the Virginia trial. You were still simping for Amber. You are a total hypocrite trying to rewrite this history, blaming J.K. Rowling. If J.K. Rowling should absolutely throw Dan under the bus and make sure that anybody who likes J.K. Rowling should not like Dan Wootton, especially after this half-assed non-apology. This is embarrassing, Dan. This is not going on my watch. No. You need to be held accountable for what you did to Johnny because you were lying. You know Amber was lying, and this is bullshit. Let's keep going.
Being one of those.
She was, but then she didn't
show us, Dan.
Sign up to that when it came to Johnny Depp. So I was calling out, actually, my column was about calling out the hypocrisy of J.K. Rowling. then unfortunately, and this does happen on newspaper websites, a headline was put on the column that described Johnny Depp as a wife beater. That was never written by me. It didn't appear in the print newspaper, but you can imagine all hell broke loose as a result of that. But I think one of the big issues that we have now, Megyn, in the culture war is that
pause. Not only did he write that headline, he's the editor and he's trying to play like he didn't write the headline. Steph, what did he write after he won? What was his headline after he won? Oh, now we can call him a wife beater. Like, he literally doubled in. And since that ruling, the Sun has used that title countless times. Countless times. I guess I didn't have you prep that. I thought you have it. Literally, after winning, the Sun posted an article saying, it's official. We can now call him that. And it was written by Dan. So this idea that Dan didn't use that term is absolutely abhorrent and a lie. There it is. Wife beater loses. There's wife beater loses his appeal. There have been countless versions where the Sun leaned in, and that's what it was. Dan was the editor. Dan has every say in adjusting those headlines. That wasn't a one-off. They've now tried to change it since. I noticed that some of these headlines and things have adjusted digitally. But let's be honest and keep it a buck. What happened then, Dan? You leaned in and you were the cancel culture mob.
Yeah,
and I would like Dan to prove that JK Rowling was not. If we go through his article, can you open up that article? This article right here, Gone Potty. He's trying to say that this is literally the most Me Too article I've ever read. Dan Wootton is Me Too. Dan Wootton is ashamed that JK Rowling, who should be standing up for women, when he offers no proof that she was doing that. How dare this person who stands up for women not stand up for Amber? She's just doing this. And then if you scroll down, there's some amazing bits in this article. I want to read that first part. The author needs to use every trick in Harry Potter's magic book to handle the growing outrage in Hollywood over her decision to stand by the casting of Johnny Depp in Fantastic Beasts. Keep going. I want to read this because this is the article in question. It's really important we see it. Today, I reveal significant backlash from the Me Too and Chimes Up movement because the Scot is hell-bent on backing her famous, despite her clearly inexcusable behavior towards ex-wife Amber Heard. Rowling is proving herself to be the worst type of Hollywood hypocrite. Her claim that she is genuinely happy to have Johnny Depp as a central character in her big screen film provides him total rehabilitation in the eyes of the movie industry. She's condoning behavior that she would loudly slam on social media if it was a male executive making the same decision. Again, speculative. No proof that she was doing this. So let me be very clear. The benefit of apparently unaware Miss Rowling, overwhelming evidence is filled in. This isn't a hypocrite of JK Rowling. This is Dan being the cancel culture mob in this article, destroying Johnny. Oh, outweighing evidence. How dare you not believe the woman? Dan is the Me Too person, not JK Rowling. And he should be embarrassed from himself because of this. And now, because it happened to him, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have gotten involved. You didn't just get involved. You leaned in and tried to destroy this man's life. And then exactly, thank you, Steph, as we fast forward to this is during the trial. He's not a victim of cancel culture. He spent years trying to cancel Amber and me. This farce of a trial. He had no rights, apparently. He's not allowed to have a jury verdict in a separate. This is a farce. We should have just believed the woman. Dan, you are the biggest hypocrite I've ever seen. I don't care what you say about Megyn and Harry or anything else that I agree with. You are a charlatan. You are a scammer. And until you really come on head on to address this with someone who's actually going to challenge you, no one's going to accept it. You're a clown until you do, and you know it. Your whole journalism job is a joke because you are now trying to lie and spin it like you weren't doing this. You absolutely were. And shame on Megyn Kelly for not being more prepared and putting the heat to him. Steph, this really pisses me off. Keep playing, but I cannot stand that we're going to allow. And some people are just like, well, Dan apologized. Dan apologized, Andy. No, he didn't. No, he's not. Keep going.
We dig deep into our trenches. We don't take a moment to look back at what we've done and think, actually, was that a mistake? And I guess I've had the time to do that over the past 6 months. And I've thought a lot about it. And I do think I was wrong to ever get involved. I don't think it was my business. And I think all I did was add extra heartache to what was clearly a very troubled, very toxic relationship. Do I think Johnny Depp is a perfect guy?
Pause. By that logic, Steph, he should stop commenting on Megyn and Harry. If we're really going to be honest, if you believe this, Dan, if you believe this, well, then why are you chiming in on Megyn and Harry? Because clearly that's a toxic relationship, isn't it? I think he would say that in a heartbeat, Steph. So what's the difference here? Why is he not going to give Johnny the defense here and look into it? But in Megyn and Harry, oh, I can go do this. I literally can't take a word you say now. With all this stuff you're saying, it's ridiculous. And now get ready. Was Johnny a good guy? Here we go. Now let's have him shit on Johnny and his apology to Johnny. Hit play.
Absolutely not.
I don't think even he would argue that.
No, but I have lots of regrets over that.
But hold on,
I don't.
You notice how let's call Johnny a bad guy, and Megyn chimes in and yeah, Johnny's a bad guy. Have either of them said what Amber is? Steph, am I missing something? Have either of them acknowledged what Amber did, which is lie about abuse, lie about being abused? I mean, my God, what is this interview? What is this apology? I am infuriated by this. Keep going.
I don't think enough journalists talk about their regrets sometimes. So yeah, I was definitely wrong. It's something I wish that I hadn't done, even though I would.
Oh, boo-hoo. Keep going.
Defend myself and saying,
cue the wah sound.
It was very
sounds
unwitty.
like Prince Harry.
Do you know
and
what I
Megyn.
mean? I wasn't expecting to become the guy to go against Johnny Depp at all.
Then why
but
did
I think now I know that you cannot just trust the word of an ex. You can't, because some exes, because I now know from personal experience, my ex.
Pause. Now, look what he's doing. He's turning this into, I'm innocent. I know better. Dan, your story doesn't mean Johnny's story is the same. An ex doesn't always lie. Like, that's bullshit. You're trying to now use all this. I was wrong because I'm innocent. And so therefore, believe me. No, I don't believe you because you don't believe Johnny. I don't believe you. Clearly, Dan, this was a toxic relationship, and you're not a good guy either. By your own logic and words, now I'm going to use your own against you. Dan, I don't believe you're innocent either. Why should we get involved? We'll just shrug you off because you're toxic too. So therefore, oh, sorry, Dan. What the fuck is this, Steph? This is complete horseshit. And now go ahead and keep going. Now he's literally going to go
was
in
prepared to
and
do
use this
anything
opportunity
to destroy me.
to say he's
Megyn,
innocent.
Anything. Going to the police, making up stories, posting on X. He was prepared to do anything. So I just feel like when relationships like this go wrong, it should be down to law enforcement to make the decision, not social media and not the media itself. So I was definitely wrong on that.
That is going to bite him in the ass. He can now never chime in on any news that's about a relationship. So let's keep that in mind. If it's Trump or Biden or Hunter Biden, anybody who wants to talk about the future, he's now acknowledged that's off limits, guys, just so we're clear, because it happened to Dan. Therefore, who knows? Let's see if he holds to that, because I'm betting $1 million he doesn't. Keep going.
I appreciate you saying that. I feel the same. I'm constantly looking back at my own positions and asking, how could I do better? What do I know now that would change my opinions? And I really encourage everybody to do that, because if you just stick with, I'm right today and I've always been right, then if you were wrong yesterday and you're wrong today, you never have any chance of being right tomorrow. You know, that's just the way it is. So self-reflection, introspection, and a lot of humility will go a long way for every human, journalist or not, in assessing their positions in this crazy world that we find ourselves in.
Pause, that's the gist. Look, it's important we point this out, Steph. Dan got his hand caught in the cookie jar, okay? Dan got caught. Okay, Dan got canceled. The thing that he did to Johnny, which was cancel him unfairly, is what happened to him. So now he's seeing it. Oh, I'm so sorry. And people like me have been calling him out, demanding accountability. And it was so loud that he couldn't ignore it. He had to address it. So now he's trying to do a PR spin, and he brought in a friend, Megyn Kelly, who to me should be ashamed of herself for even accepting that without being able to be unbiased on it, because she's totally protecting her friend there. And look, at one point I could see that it's, you want to support your friends, but you're a damn journalist, Megyn, and you know more about this, and you could have easily researched more, and you've hammered other people with other similar things. I'm ashamed she didn't prod him harder, because this was a non-apology. He's refusing to accept it. And if he at least would acknowledge that, listen, I can't really tell you what I think because there's a lot of legal battles that I can't afford right now. Obviously, I have regrets. Like, there's ways Dan could have done this stuff where we could have saw through it and it would have seemed genuine. Like, I was a complete hypocrite. Just own it, dude, because that's what you are. But this weird, anybody could be, an ex is always, well, then, yeah, but that logic, you know what? Your ex has reached out to me, Dan. Steph, should we interview his ex? Should we start humoring the other side of things? Because maybe it's not true what Dan's telling us. By this logic, maybe we should look into the evidence, Dan. What do you think, Steph? I want to get your quick thoughts. I know this has been a long video. I want to wrap it up, but am I, and chat, please, am I crazy, or is this the worst apology you've ever seen?
Yeah, it's a non-apology. It's an apology without actually being an apology. He's not apologizing for what he's actually done, and he's not taking accountability. Quick thing that I noticed is that when you look at the original article and the original title, right, it's been changed. So the term wife beater isn't in his original article anymore. However, some articles since, it's still referencing Johnny Depp as a wife beater. As soon as recent as May 2023, they're still calling him a wife beater. So Dan Wootton, when it comes to Johnny Depp and this term, he kicked it all off. And he has started this unfortunate, disgusting kind of theme with The Sun and how they describe a Johnny Depp. So, yeah, I don't accept the apology at all. I don't think it is an apology. He's just trying to, I think, save his own skin at this point and throw Amber under the bus.
And JK Rowling, who he's clearly now aligned with politically, so he wants to forgive and try to woo her. But this idea that this piece was about the hypocrisy of JK Rowling, no, you were the hypocrisy, Dan, and you still refuse to acknowledge it. You were the Me Too hypocrite. You were the one believing all women, not JK Rowling. JK Rowling was getting a lot of flack by Me Too activists for standing by Johnny Depp. Why? Because she could see through it, because she knew Johnny, because she talked to him directly, I'm sure, and I'm sure I knew way more than you did. But you used that as an opportunity to shit on JK Rowling, who you now appreciate, and Johnny Depp, and I shouldn't have gotten involved. I was wrong. I clearly didn't have all the information. Clearly there was more that came out in the jury trial that I should have looked into. No, Steph's 100% right. You've taken zero accountability. And no, I don't accept this apology. No one should in the Johnny Depp camp. Dan, I've made this clear. I've messaged you. I know the message has gotten you, Dan. Am I full screen? I'd like to speak directly to Dan. Please pass this along to Dan. Dan, I've tried to speak to you. I can speak off the record. I'm a professional. I will speak off the record. Let's figure out how to untie your hands, okay? Take that as you will. Let me know what we need to do to untie your hands so we can get a proper apology. Johnny Depp is owed that, not this half-ass, well, I don't know. You know. So reach out to me privately, or heck, have the balls and come out publicly. You have a new whole platform you're trying to promote. Why aren't you going out? An innocent person or someone who's willing to tell the truth shouldn't be afraid to go on someone's platform. I'm going to ask tough questions, of course. Why are you afraid of them? If you can't talk, say it. Tell us. Then just be honest with your audience. Instead, you're being dishonest and disingenuous. And why ever would we want to trust you? And you've now put yourself in a corner where now, if you not mock Megyn and Harry's toxic relationship, you are now an even bigger hypocrite because your excuse is, well, I shouldn't have gotten involved. Then don't get involved in any news story, Dan. Either do the homework and take accountability or don't get involved. Which is it going to be now? Every article you do and every video you do now is going to be fairly criticized. And I think every comment should be, well, why are you getting involved, Dan? Why are you getting involved? How do you know? Isn't this a toxic thing? What if you don't have a blah, 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 blah? You've just put yourself in the dumbest hole. Come clean. Be honest. Take accountability for this. I don't give a shit about your past. You moved on. Address what you did to Johnny Depp. And be fair about it. You've admitted to people in private that she duped you. Why can't you admit that publicly? Come clean and expose Amber Heard for what she is and stop letting women like that get away with this. I'm furious at this step because this man's going to be believed by people who hate Megyn and Harry and others, and I'm not standing by it. He has not taken accountability. He has not apologized, and you need to, Dan. Please reach out to me publicly, privately. I don't care. You got to sort this out. I don't like this. Hit that subscribe. Steph, I want to cut this because I know it's long. Join Steph later today live. I'm sure we'll talk more about it. But I'm hot on this, and I need to cool my head because I'm so sick of hypocrites like this trying to spin their way out without actually taking accountability. You have not done it, Dan. Not on my watch. Hit the subscribe. Hit the bell. Thanks for watching. Put the end screen up. Love you all. Thank you, Steph. She'll be live later. Join her and everybody else. Bye, everybody.
Les, everyone.